Well, we know this was organized online. We know that. We again took down QAnon, Proud Boys, Stop the Steal, anything that was talking about possible violence last week. Our enforcement's never perfect, so I'm sure there were still things on Facebook. I think these events were largely organized on platforms that don't have our abilities to stop hate and don't have our standards and don't have our transparency. But certainly to this day, we are working to find any single mention that might be leading to this and making sure we get it down as quickly as possible.
This is just not true. That's the Facebook COO, Sheryl Sandberg. When she says that this can't be done on Facebook, or that this wasn't done on Facebook, or that there have not been violent riots planned and executed using platforms like Twitter and Facebook, that's just not accurate. I mean, you look back at news stories stretching back for years, there's been all kinds of horrible stuff that has transited the servers and platforms and put on your screen from Facebook, from Twitter, from these, because they're platforms. And they have this Section 230 protection that allows them to be platforms. But they are now acting as publishers because they're taking editorial lines and they're not applying standards without politicization. So they want to have it both ways. That's the fundamental issue here. And they're getting away with it. They're getting away with it. When she says that the Capitol Hill riots were not organized on Facebook, that's a very, that's a very interesting position for her to take. How would they even know? And how quickly are they taking things off? You're really going to tell me that Facebook, with its billions of users and all the people that gathered together and went to D.C. and anybody who was talking about criminal activity, they didn't use Facebook? It was all on Parler? That's the allegation? They better prove that one. I want to see the proof, because I know that Facebook has been used to plan jihadist terror attacks. I mean, you look at these other platforms, there's all kinds of horrible stuff going on. But we don't hold the phone companies responsible for what any lunatic, if a mafia boss calls in an assassination, a hit on somebody using a phone, we don't blame the cell phone company. Oh, why didn't you stop this? It's impossible to have perfect moderation, and that seems to be the standard that they're holding Parler to, where they pull down violent content or incendiary content. Maybe they're not as efficient as Facebook, but they haven't said, well, let's just increase your efficiency. When you're talking about Amazon Web Services, AWS, pulling Parler off the internet, it isn't, oh, we'll work with you so that you guys, we can all agree on what the rules of the road here and you're going to enforce them. It's, no, sorry, you're done. We think there's too much violent stuff on your site. Twitter is full of horrible stuff. Horrible stuff. They've got, Iranian politicians and Russian dictator, and they got all kinds of wacko, awful propaganda on there, calling for genocide against human beings. I mean, the Chinese Communist Party can spew whatever nonsense they want on Twitter, and they don't get any pushback from these authorities. So we know that the standard is a let's crush conservative standard. And it reminds me right now, a little bit of how conservatives were completely, put on their back feet and scared after the incident with George Floyd. It wasn't a shooting, where the knee was on his neck and his back, and then BLM riots happened, and all of a sudden everybody was, whoa, maybe cops are racist, and maybe we should do some big legislative effort here to address this, and new training, everything. I said, hold on a second. This is one incident. Let's look at all. We didn't have all the facts, as you know. We only saw half that video. The other half of the video was important to see, but people were scared, and the left they're very adept at this. They're very good. They go after people intentionally in bad faith on the right. If they just wanted to purge the crazies, a lot of people would sit around and say, all right, I mean, Q is a bunch of wackos. I don't even know what Q believes. I mean, Q is insane. So I don't, that's not my problem. A lot of people would sit around and say, well, But no, for them to really gain political power, for the left, for the Democrats to fully leverage what's going on, they got to go after some people that they know are opposed to any kind of political violence, that they know denounced immediately and would always, going forward, denounce a riot in the Capitol building. They got to get some of those people, because that sends a message to everybody, to the vast majority of conservatives, to the 99.9% of conservatives who would never raise their hand in anger against a police officer over a political issue. The left sends a message to all of them. We can get you too. You think just because you're ethical and honorable and don't support political violence and don't support breaking laws because of election discontent that you're safe or that you'll be allowed to speak? No, friends. Authoritarians always have to make an example of the compliant as well as those who disobey.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.